present in the virtual courtroom. We have both parties as well as Ms. Camfield-Kuiper representing the plaintiff, Mr. Carson. Ms. Carson is representing herself. And Ms. Carson, I need you to understand, I know we've gone over this before in this case, but you do have the right to represent yourself, but the court does have to hold you to all the same rules of evidence, court rules, orders in this case, all of those things, just as if you were an attorney. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I did I did not receive trial briefs from either party. Is that correct? I want to make sure that we didn't miss something that was submitted.
That is correct, Your Honor. And I can state for the court's information, we did submit a settlement conference statement as well as the witness and exhibit lists. And I believe that my office was sharing with the court and opposing party the psychological evaluations that were received by the parties under court order, as well as the verified financial information forms that were attested to by each of the parties. And we had attached exhibits to the objection to the referee's recommended order by my client, which was to be heard today along with the trial evidence.
Okay.
And I can illuminate.
I have the financial information form for both parties, but I do not see, and I do have the objection, your objection to the front of the court's recommendation. I don't have any of the other exhibits though that you were referencing.
Oh, well, let me.
So, was that emailed?
It should have been emailed to Tyler, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you know who would have been who would have sent that email?
It should have come from the office at wealthystreetlaw.com. I know those were the court ordered psychological evaluations that were conducted by Dr. Jeffrey
Kilishewski.
Kilishewski. I don't know why I can never get that name.
All right, Ms. Van Noller, do you have those? I mean, I have to believe they would be in my digital notebook if she had them.
Correct. We just have the domestic relations verified financial form sent for both parties received this morning.
Okay. I'm going to have him email those right now because those will be important for the court.
And do you have any other exhibits?
Those should be it. The exhibits attached to the objection were with respect to the defendant's potential to earn additional income for imputation due to her cosmetology licensing. And that
okay, but you want to admit those for purposes of trial?
Potentially.
Okay, well, we would need those as separate PDFs too, if that's what your intent is to do. All right.
Absolutely.
Is that the sum total of potential exhibits?
We're going to keep it to a minimum today, Your Honor, aside from testimony. That's correct.
Okay. All right, Ms. Carson, did you have any exhibits for the court for today?
I had them sent from the last settlement conference, so I'm sorry, I assumed that you guys still had everything I've ever sent on file. And I do have the psychological evaluation emailed to me too, but there was a note that stated that it was also sent to the court.
Okay, well, stuff happens, so well, that's why I'm starting out with housekeeping to make sure we're all looking at the same thing. Do you have copies of those exhibits that Ms. Camfield referenced?
The verified financial forms I got this morning, yes.
Okay. And do you have both psychological evaluations?
No, I only received mine.
Okay.
I've asked my staff to come in, Your Honor, so these can be sent to all the parties in the court.
All right. And do you have any witnesses other than the parties, Ms. Camfield?
Not at this point, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Carson, do you have any witnesses other than yourself and your husband? That didn't register. Could you say that again?
Sorry, Your Honor, no.
Okay. All right. We'll give Ms. Camfield a moment here.
All right. He's taking care of that right now, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. And I don't believe we've preserved proofs in this case previously.
We have not preserved proofs, Your Honor. I can eliminate the court. It's my understanding that at the Dispute Resolution Center mediation that was held last year, they did resolve the financial issues.
Okay.
With respect to everything but child support calculation and what the income of the defendant would be.
Okay. I have a statement from the Dispute Resolution Center that indicates that they settled in part, but it doesn't give any details, so we need to put that on the record.
Okay. We certainly can do so. Would you like me to do so now, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. It's my understanding with respect to the real property of the parties that the home, the marital home, I'll get you the address in just a moment, will be awarded to the defendant if she is able to refinance and pay the equity to plaintiff, his marital portion of 50% to plaintiff within 45 days of the entry of the judgment of divorce. In the event that the defendant cannot refinance and pay my client his equity, the home would be sold and the equity divided equally 50-50 to the parties. It is my understanding with respect to the vehicles that plaintiff will be awarded the 2017 Ford Explorer and shall hold the defendant harmless from any liability on that vehicle. The defendant will be awarded the 2006 Honda Element and a 1991 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and she will hold the plaintiff harmless from any of the debts on either of those vehicles. The joint bank accounts were divided by the parties. Their individual bank accounts will be held and kept in their individual names with no equalization or division. My client's retirement at Edward Jones had a premarital balance of $2,784.01 that will be separate property. The remainder of that will be subject to marital division of 50% of the marital portion to defendant, plus or minus gains or losses until the date of distribution. And those shall be executed by plaintiffs preparing either a qualified domestic relations order or an EDRO and getting that approved by the court and submitted to Edward Jones. The parties have elected to both forego spousal support, and that would be forever barred. I believe that covers all of the financial and real estate. Personal property, Your Honor, has already been divided by the parties, and each shall retain the personal property that is already in their possession.
All right, Ms. Carson, you heard what Ms. Canfield just placed on the record. Is that your understanding of the mediation agreement that you reached?
Yes, the only thing I would like to add is on the financial forms, those were done last year, and since October, my employment has changed. So
Could you say that last part again? There was something, a noise, and it blocked out what you said.
oh, sorry, I had an interruption. The financial verified form was filled out before October, but since October, I have been unemployed, so I don't have any income since October. Sorry to.
But that's fine. But my question was about the mediation agreement. Was everything that Ms. Canfield what she just placed on the record regarding your agreements, is that all true?
I think I heard her say something about it being $2,000.
The premarital portion. That was how much was in his account before you got married.
Oh, okay.
So, Ms. Carson, what that means is that the $2,784.01 would remain Nicholas's because that was his portion before marriage, and then the remainder would be divided with the marital portions.
Okay. Do you know how much that is?
At the time of your mediation, it was $44,775.99 minus that $2,784.01. But it will be the entity, when you give your order to the entity, ma'am, that entity will divide the marital portion of the current balance plus or minus gains or losses.
Okay.
Okay. So they'll be ordered by the court under your prepared order to do so.
Okay. All right. And so my understanding are the remaining contested issues are custody, parenting time, and child support. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And I think before we do that, we should take proofs to make sure that happens.
Certainly, Your Honor.
And I assume you're going to call your client.
Thank you. Mr. Carson, is it true that on or about February 22nd of 2023, you did engage the law firm of the Wealthy Street Law Firm to file a summons and complaint for divorce in this matter, sir?
I did, yes.
And at that time, at the time of the filing, had you been living in Michigan for over 180 days in Kent County for over 10 days prior to filing?
Yes.
And did the defendant also reside in Kent County for that time period?
Yes.
Is it true that you were married on November 22nd, 2015 in Westminster, Colorado by somebody lawfully able to perform marriages to Saida Carson?
Yes.
And in your, during the course of your marriage, you had one minor child together by the name of Sarah. How old is Sarah currently?
She's 2 years old and almost 2 years and a month.
All right. And to the best of your knowledge, is Miss Carson pregnant currently?
No.
Are either of you members of the military?
No.
Did either of you have a pre or post-nuptial agreement in this matter?
No.
And at the time you filed this complaint for divorce, you alleged that there had been a breakdown in the marital relationship to the extent that the objects of matrimony could no longer reasonably be preserved. Is that still true?
Yes.
And if the proofs go forward today and we're also able to get the judgment of the court with respect to custody, parenting time, and child support, do you ask the court to enter a judgment of divorce in this matter, sir?
Yes.
Would you ever live back together with Mrs. Carson in the event that the divorce was not granted?
No.
You would remain separate as individuals?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions for proofs, Your Honor?
All right. I assume you are now calling Mr. Carson for your case in chief?
I am.
And you're still under oath, Mr. Carson.
Yeah.
Mr. Carson, can you please illuminate for the court what, we have a temporary order in place, is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
And what is that temporary order with respect to the legal custody of your daughter, Surya?
Shared joint custody, legal. Yep.
So joint legal custody, is that what you would like to have or what you currently have?
That's what we currently have.
Okay. Is that what you're seeking from the court?
No,
What are you seeking for legal custody, sir?
full legal custody.
And when you say full legal, do you mean you are to make decisions only for your daughter, Surya?
Yes.
And then if you could illuminate the court just what your physical custody is currently, if any.
Currently, I have visitation anytime I can afford to go to Michigan for 4 consecutive days.
When was the last time you exercised that?
The weekend of her birthday, so January 26th through the 29th.
Of 2024, sir?
Correct.
All right. Now, we're going to go over some questions regarding to the best interest factors that you and I had previously discussed. Are you prepared to do so, sir?
Yeah.
All right. Regarding love, affection, and emotional ties with your daughter, when you are here to engage in parenting time, do you assist in getting meals for your daughter?
Yes.
Can you tell us some of the things that she likes to eat?
She likes to eat like summer sausage, like snack sausages and veggie sticks. She's kind of finicky now that she's 2, but she'll eat chicken and other things. French fries, she loves French fries. Pretty much sweets, she loves sweets too, but she's kind of picky. She doesn't really eat that much lately, but
Does she like fruits or vegetables that you're aware of?
yeah, she likes broccoli. And I don't know about fruits. I haven't seen her try to eat fruit. Besides juice.
What type of juice does she like?
Apple juice and cherry juice.
Have you been able to assist in making any meals, or do you eat out when you are here for your parenting time?
We eat out, or Saida cooks. Yeah.
Where is that parenting time in Michigan exercised by yourself with your daughter?
We've been to Chuck E. Cheese and the parks, the Children's Museum, the zoo, the aquarium. Anything I could take her out to do. She loves the park the most.
What are her favorite things to do at the park?
Swing and slide.
Do you know what your daughter's favorite programs or stories are?
She likes to watch these informational things on YouTube that Saida plays for her, like Miss something or other. I don't know the names. There's like 3 different teacher ladies who sing and teach them to talk and stuff.
So educational programs?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know any books or stories that she enjoys?
She likes any books. She loves to be read too. So pretty much anything you pick up, she'll enjoy.
Have you ever taken her to the library?
Yes.
Does she engage in children's activities at the library?
Yeah, she plays with all of the toys and stuff, and yeah.
Can you describe for the court how your daughter has been affected by the separation of you and her mother?
She seems, I don't know. She's only 2, so it's hard to read, but she doesn't seem as happy when we're not all together. As far as my observations, she just isn't quite as, I don't know, smiley and stuff as she was before.
How is it that you go about to assist her to help overcome those feelings or make her feel a little bit happier?
By taking her to do her favorite things and talking to her and engaging and playing.
How do you show your affection and love to your daughter?
By hugging her and telling her, kissing her, caring for her, taking her to do the stuff she likes, giving her stuff. I don't know.
How does your daughter express her affection for you?
Same way. She likes to hug me anytime I come, and she gave me a kiss the last time I was there. She always brings me all of her toys and shows me every toy she has, and she's very interactive with me every time I'm there.
How would you describe your bond with your daughter?
Strong.
I'm sorry, Ms. Canfield. I just need to interrupt for a bit of
Sure.
housekeeping. Apparently, your office sent those psych eval reports as odd pages and then even pages separately. We need them like together as an exhibit
Yes, of course, Your Honor.
in chronological order.
I don't know if we're having issues with our system. Excuse
Okay.
me. One moment. Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry
All
about
right. Sorry for the interruption.
that.
Go
It's
ahead.
all right. We were talking about bonds. You said you feel like your daughter has a very strong bond with you.
Mm-hmm.
How does
She
she react?
she lets me hold her more than anybody else. Like any of her family that she's met or anything, she's much closer to me than even the sister of my wife who she lives with. She doesn't even let her hold her, but she runs up to me and wants to be held immediately anytime I see her.
Can you describe to me, do you feel that your daughter is bonded to her mother, the defendant, as well?
Yeah, of course.
What has some of the parenting time been exercised with your daughter in the presence of the defendant?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'd
when,
say actually the majority of the time out there has been spent with all three of us together. It's just more convenient considering I'm in an Airbnb that's shared with strangers and hotels and things. It's better for Surrey to be in her own home when we're interacting more often, or whether we're out. Like if we go to the park and stuff, a lot of times I'll take her, but for her birthday and stuff, Saeed obviously went with us.
so do you feel that you personally are capable of encouraging a relationship to continue between your daughter and her mother?
Absolutely.
Contrarily, do you feel like the defendant is capable or willing to encourage a relationship of your daughter with you?
Some days.
When you say some days, tell me what you mean by that.
Just that she doesn't always seem all that willing to do that. I don't. Most of the time, though.
Let me ask you, has the defendant made any statements to you over the course of the last year with your separation regarding what type of visitation she wants you to have with your daughter?
Oh, she said on multiple occasions that she would be fine if I had no communication whatsoever. Just leave them alone. But then she goes some other times that she wants supervised visitations, and then other times she wants to get remarried or stay together. So I don't know. It's very wish-washy.
But she has expressed to you on occasion not wanting you around she and your daughter at all?
Yes, multiple times.
Does that concern you with respect to being able to continue a bond with your daughter?
100%, yeah.
During the times that you're exercising parenting time in the presence of the defendant, has your daughter ever skinned her knee or fallen down and been hurt?
Yeah, she fell down the last time I was out there when she was running through the living room.
When she falls down, whom does she seek comfort from?
Well, she came to me right away because I was closest to her. I guess whoever would be closest in the vicinity, but she was fine being comforted by me at the time.
Were you able to comfort her and get her calm after she fell down in the living room?
Yeah.
Have you seen her go to the defendant after she has fallen down? Or
Yes.
injured herself?
Mhm.
All right. I'm going to stop for 1 second. And I know it's really hard, but because we're recording this and there's going to maybe at some point need to be a transcript, if you could try to say yes and no to the best of your ability. Sometimes the mm-hs and uh-uhs are difficult to translate into the transcription. Thank
Okay.
you so much. When you are with your daughter, does she ever need any assistance eating her food?
No,
Do you have to help her cut up little pieces or anything like that?
no, her favorite thing is finger food, but like if it was a giant piece of chicken, yeah, I would cut it up or Saida would break it up.
With respect to the child getting dressed, has she ever changed her clothes or needed to be dressed when you had parenting time with her?
No, not recently. Before I left the house, yes.
Before you left the house, were you able to assist your daughter in getting dressed?
Yeah, and bath time, I assist with all of the parenting things.
Is there any special routine that's followed for, you referred her as Suri. Is that
Yeah,
correct,
Suri's
your
fine.
daughter?
Yeah.
When you bathe Suri, is there any type of pattern or habits that she likes to do at bath time?
No, it's usually a short, just get cleaned up or play a little bit in between, just hang out.
Have you recollection of when your daughter went to bed when you were still in the house?
Yeah.
Did you used to assist with that, or who put your daughter to bed?
I did assist. It was probably 75-25. Saida did it a lot of the time because she was still breastfeeding when I lived there.
To my knowledge and to your knowledge, not my knowledge, strike it, that's a bad way to start the question. To your knowledge, Mr. Carson, is Suri still breastfeeding or is she weaned?
I think she's weaned, yes.
Would you have any difficulty determining a bedtime routine or setting one up for your daughter if you were to have physical custody?
No, I think that's actually very important. I don't agree with the schedule that she currently has.
Let's talk a little bit about that schedule. What is the current schedule for Suri to your understanding at bedtime?
To my understanding, it's whenever they want. It could be 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and whenever Suri wants to wake up is when she wakes up. She runs her own schedule, not Saida.
When have you observed that?
Every time I'm there, I have to wait till 11 o'clock most of the time for her to wake up so that I can spend my parenting time.
When is your parenting time supposed to begin?
9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And you're having to start your parenting time late at 11 o'clock?
Yeah, almost every time I'm there.
When you say almost every time, on how many occasions average would that have occurred? In the last, let me give you a time frame, 6 months.
Every time. Yeah. So, and I usually try to make it out once a month. So it's 6 times.
How is she when you actually take your parenting time at 11 in the morning then? How is your daughter's demeanor?
It's good. She usually wakes up happy. Average, I suppose. I haven't seen her try to be woken up at 8 a.m. like a normal schedule. So I couldn't tell you what the difference is, but she seems good enough.
Right. Would you please tell the court what type of a schedule you would create for Suri if she was in your primary care physically?
She would wake up when I do, which is a 5 a.m. every day because I have a full-time job. We would eat breakfast. I would take her to wherever she needed to go for childcare during the week, obviously, and then I would pick her up around 3:30. We would go home, eat dinner, maybe play, do some playing, then bath and brush teeth, and maybe 50-50 TV and book time, and then sleep and start all over again. She'd probably be in bed by 8:30 at the very latest.
Do you feel it's important as a parent for a child to have a consistent schedule for waking and sleeping?
Absolutely, yes.
Have you ever, during your parenting time that you've exercised here, observed your daughter to be tired because she didn't get enough sleep?
She does seem groggy and grumpy midday, like, I don't know, probably by 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. She seems pretty tired and she's grumpy. She's ready for bed, or at least a good nap, I guess.
Does she take naps when she's with you, she being Suri?
I've observed her take naps 2 times in the last 6 times.
Approximately how long are those naps?
3 hours or so. I think it was at least, yeah, I think 2.5 to 3 hours.
About what time of day was she taking those naps on those 2 occasions?
It was like 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
And you have parenting time from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. currently with no overnights?
That's correct. So sometimes we'd have to cut my parenting time short, but sometimes Saida would call me later. It would be like 8 o'clock at night and say, "Do you want to come back?" And obviously I have a regular schedule. So sometimes I could come back if I was off the next day, or if my flight was the next day, then I couldn't. So I just lost parenting time.
All right. Do you believe that the loss of parenting time due to those long naps on those 2 occasions was because of the erratic schedule with the defendant's household?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that that negatively impacts your daughter to have such
I
an
do.
erratic schedule?
I do. I don't think that she is developing at quite the same rate as I see other 2-year-olds when we go out at playing and stuff like that. I mean, obviously all kids are different, but I just feel like maybe she would be a little more developed if she had a better sleep schedule and like a regular schedule where she was around other kids and things like that.
To your knowledge, is she engaged in any play groups or preschool activities, anything like that when she is with the defendant?
No, not at all. She says she takes her to the library every other day or the park, but not that to my knowledge, I'm not there.
Well, you're just going off of what the defendant has told you.
Correct. Yeah.
Has the defendant shared with you any attempt at preschool or other kid activities as a group for socialization?
She said for a short time she was taking her to like a reading thing at the library, but I don't think that she continued that. To my knowledge, it didn't seem like it. When we went to the library, the lady didn't recognize her.
When you talk about your daughter's skills being a little bit lagging behind other children her age, can you tell the court what differences you're observing?
She has a little bit less balance than most 2-year-olds. I don't know. She doesn't interact with other kids. She like goes around them. She's not like trying to play with them at all. And she talks, but very rarely, not as often as I've seen other 2-year-olds. Like I have cousins that are the same age and they say words more often. And you can tell that she can say the words because sometimes she'll just say them, but she doesn't regularly do it. So I don't know. That's kind of concerning.
Have you been able to speak with the defendant about that concern?
Yeah, we've talked about it a few times.
What does the defendant say regarding your perceived delays with your daughter?
She thinks that she has autism, and I disagree.
Do you believe if you had your daughter and she was on a more regular schedule, that she would progress developmentally?
I do, yeah.
What types of things would you do with her to help her progress developmentally with her balance, speech, and motor skills?
I would play with her more often than let her watch TV, like rolling the ball back and forth, or like, I don't know, just more active playtime, less screen and TV time. And obviously she would be around kids more often if she had to go to some kind of daycare. And also I have cousins with kids the same age that they get together a few times a month.
So the extended family has children of the same age as what you're describing?
Yeah, most of my cousins do.
Can you tell us, with respect to that extended family, let's talk a little bit about the support group that you have. Tell us, do you have a lot of family and friends that would be able to assist if the child got sick or things of that nature?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I'm very close with both of my parents, my grandmother, A few of my cousins, my uncles and their wives they've all said, oh, if you had full-time custody, I would definitely love to babysit or whatever and help you out, because they obviously haven't barely gotten to see her at all. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, I have plenty of family that's willing and helpful and have raised their own kids.
All right. And talk to us a little bit about the religion of yourself versus the defendant. What is your current religion?
I'm Christian. I go to church a couple times a month. I was trying to go every week, but I go a few times a month. It's a little harder now that I'm down in the Springs. It's not the same church that I was going to. So,
Okay.
but so are my parents are Christian, and pretty much everyone in my family is practicing Christian, not necessarily pious and go to church every single weekend, but they all have a strong belief system.
And then with respect to the defendant, do you know through your marriage with her what her religious beliefs are, if any?
I don't think that she has any. If anything, she just she believes in a lot of different things at different times. I can't be completely sure. She's changed her mind a few times, and so have I, a little bit back and forth throughout our marriage. I was kind of more agnostic because of the marriage, and then now I'm gotten back to my roots. But she's not religious at all, to my understanding.
Can you tell me how you would intend to raise your daughter spiritually if you had parenting time or full physical custody?
Well, I would encourage her to learn about all practicing religions and have an open mind, not non-biased, because obviously I don't believe that there's just one right way to believe.
So you'd allow her to be exposed to a variety of different religions and beliefs?
Oh, absolutely. Half of her family is Muslim. All of Saida's family are practicing Muslims, and I wouldn't want to keep her from her culture.
Would you be willing then to allow her to be exposed to Christian holidays as well as what the Muslim may celebrate?
Yeah, and that was kind of what we had talked about in mediation, was that as far as child parenting time is, I would like to have Christian holidays, and that she could have the Muslim holidays, and any non-religious holidays we could split in half. But absolutely, she should know about Eid al-Fitr and Ramadan and all of that. Yeah.
All right. And would you allow your daughter to be exposed to both the Bible and the Quran?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, here's the difficult question. Mr. Carson, do you think that yourself and the defendant could agree on that exposure to a variety of cultures as well as religions?
Saida's agreed that she would be fine with her learning about Christianity, but she's kind of taken Christian school off the table, which I don't understand. A lot of really good private schools have some kind of religious background, and that was kind of my goal, was not for the religion itself, but just the fact that it's a private school and you have better learning and smaller class sizes. But she's said that she would be willing, but she goes back and forth, so I don't know.
Could it potentially be a point of contention that would have to go before the court
Could
as
be.
far as religious upbringing for your daughter?
It could be. I couldn't be 100% sure.
And it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Carson, you want your daughter to be able to go to private schools because you feel that can afford perhaps a better education in some areas of the country?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. The public school system is obviously degrading, and it's proven that children aren't learning the things that they need to. So I think I would like to be able to provide private schooling for her.
And do you believe that Mrs. Carson will not agree with that?
Not if it has religious, like if it's a Christian private school, I don't think she would agree. No.
Who takes your daughter to doctors and dentist appointments?
Well, since I don't live there, but when I did live there, we all went. I drove.
Are you willing to continue, if you were to have your daughter more than just the parenting time you do now, to take her to the doctor's appointments?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd prefer it.
Would you be willing to take her to the dentist appointments?
Yes.
Would you keep Mrs. Carson updated as to when those appointments are scheduled?
Yes. Which she's lacked in doing for me. I don't find out about doctor's appointments until well after they've happened, or injuries until after they've happened. my daughter had broken her jaw and I didn't find out for 2 weeks, apparently.
Okay, let's back up for a moment. That's quite important. When did she
Yeah.
break her jaw? She being Siri.
I would have to look at the dates, but it was probably 4 months ago, 5 months ago.
And whose care was she when she broke her jaw?
Saida's.
Do you know where she was taken for treatment?
She wasn't very specific. I have the paperwork. I think it said, I don't know. It was at the top. She sent me a copy of the paperwork after I had requested it because she didn't want me to have parenting time while Suri was healing. So that's the only reason she had told me about it at all.
Were you able to come and exercise parenting time to see her after she was injured?
I did. I came anyway, yes. But she seemed okay. I didn't notice any bruising or anything. She seemed like she had already healed quite a bit, so I'm not sure as to how. I don't know. I wasn't there, so it was quite frustrating.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Carson. Did you ask the defendant how your daughter's jaw got broken?
I did, and she just said that she fell.
Did she describe to you how she fell?
No.
Did you happen to talk to the medical providers that cared for your daughter for that particular injury?
No, she didn't give me the doctor's name or anything. She gave me like a small screenshot that said how to care for a broken jaw. She didn't tell me who the doctor was or any of that.
Did you ask her?
I did.
Were you ever provided that information even to date?
No.
Do you know if the medical facility, and this is if you know,
Yeah.
contacted any outside agency regarding that injury?
I do not know. I personally contacted CPS, or I guess out there it's probably Michigan Child Protective Services, whatever. And I reported it because I was unsure as to what had happened.
When did you make that report?
Right after she had told me that she'd broken her jaw. So it was like the same day. I was quite frustrated that I didn't find out until weeks after it happened, and it just made me very suspicious.
So if it was approximately 4 months ago and we're in mid-February, would that have been approximately October?
It might have been long. I think it was August. My dates are so messed up having to go back and forth and everything. I think it was actually closer to summertime because it was nice out. I had gone to the beach the time that I came out. So
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So maybe a little longer than 4 months.
yeah, it was probably July or August.
And did you ever have any follow-up from the Child Protective Services Agency regarding your report?
No, they refused to tell me anything, and I called multiple times. They said, "Oh, we can't tell you anything." That was all they would say.
Do you know if there was ever any case services opened or anything with respect to that injury for your daughter?
They wouldn't even give me a case number. They said, "We can't tell you whether we found your whatever telling that we investigated it or not. We can't even tell you if there was an investigation." I said, "She's my daughter." They still wouldn't. I didn't understand that. I don't know how that works, I guess.
Over the course of the time that you've been separated from the defendant, have there been other injuries to your daughter that have caused you concern?
I don't know. Everything she said seemed more normal than a broken jaw. Just doesn't usually happen to a toddler of her age, a 1.5-year-old. But she has had like black eyes and scrapes and stuff, which seem more normal to like falling down and stuff. And I've noticed she is pretty clumsy.
Let me ask you this, when your daughter Siri has been in your care during parenting time, has she ever fallen to such an extent that the impact would have broken a bone?
No, not at all.
Can you tell me what some of your positive parenting skills are for your daughter Siri as far as being a dad?
I think I just have a more attention to detail, a little bit more caring personality. I don't know. I that's a hard question to answer. I feel like just care enough that I would be able to do it. You know, like I've done some research and stuff too as to parenting, so
What
I think
types
I'm
of
quite
things
capable.
have you done to research parenting and how children should be raised?
Oh, I've read a few books online and watched some videos.
When did you do that?
I do it periodically. I like to read, so I mean, I think the last time I read something was on line. It was called Family. I'd have to look on the internet. I saved it in my bookmarks, but it was probably a few weeks ago.
Are you trying to keep up with your daughter's developmental stages and read information pertaining to those?
Yes, yeah, correct.
Let's ask, if we could, how you would have reacted if your daughter fell and broke her jaw and your care and custody. Would you have notified the defendant immediately?
Immediately, yes, yeah,
Would
yeah.
you have
And I would,
provided physician information to her?
yeah, and where we were going at the time, and when we got there, and how it was going, and what the doctors recommended, all of that. I feel like it's important for both parents to know immediately what's happening. It's not one or the other. We're both parents.
And for such a serious injury that required that medical treatment, did the defendant give you any of that same courtesy?
No, not at all.
In fact, you asked for the doctors and still haven't been provided that information. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Do you know who your child's primary care physician is?
No, I don't think that she takes her to the same. She takes her to the same place, but never the same doctor. And I couldn't tell you the last one that she saw or when it was.
Have you asked her to share this information with you?
Yeah, and I said that it's important that on medical decisions that we both know. And she even has like a screening for autism coming up that she vaguely told me where it was. She doesn't tell me who the physician was or anything.
Were you notified by the defendant of the date for that screening?
No, she said it was in March sometime.
So you were just given the month.
Yeah.
She told you what it was for. Is that correct?
Yeah. She's been pushing the autism thing for, I don't know, since I left. I don't know why.
But she will not tell you the actual date and time or the physician for that evaluation?
Correct.
How many times did you ask?
I guess I probably asked every time she brought it up, the 3 or 4 times.
Does your child ever demonstrate fear of any particular thing, like, spiders or snakes or anything like that, the dark?
No, falling. Like she's very, very careful about going up and down steps and things like that. She's very careful.
How do you help her deal with that fear or anxiety about going up and down the steps?
I hold her hand.
Has there been a situation in which she's had to go up or down steps while in your presence with the defendant?
Yeah, she was going up and down the stairs at the defendant's house the last time I was there by herself, like, which I thought was strange. They're hardwood stairs, and she's 2.
Did you see the defendant try to reach out and help her or hold her hand as you do?
No, and I asked her, "What? Did you know she was coming down the stairs?" Because as I was leaving, she was coming down to try to get me to not leave, which is heartbreaking every time. But she said, "No, she does that all the time. Goes down the stairs by herself," which I find strange since most of the time she can't take one step. That's probably why she's laying on her belly. Like, I don't know, but I just don't think a 2-year-old should be going up and down wooden stairs with no handrail.
There's no handrail there?
No.
Let's talk a little bit about any positive parenting skills that you've observed in the defendant.
She's very good at making sure that Suri has clean clothes and she's fed anytime she'll eat. She makes sure that she has food and clean clothes and a clean bed. She does sanitize all of their stuff in their sleeping areas, and anytime like upstairs where she plays on her hands and feet on the ground and stuff, she makes sure that the floor is clean and stuff. So she's clean and makes sure that she has food and clothing.
Do you have any concerns about the defendant's parenting of your daughter?
Just the fact that she's not having a regular schedule and that she's getting too much screen time. I think that those are both detrimental to development.
What about her physical safety in the presence of the defendant?
Yeah. The last time we were there, we went to the mall and there was a little boy who pushed her down a couple of times, and it made me angry, obviously. And I said we should go, but because it was making my daughter cry. And then when we were leaving, Saida was laughing. She said, "Oh, I just thought it was funny." That was the first time I ever seen her get bullied, which kind of brought up some concerns for me.
Did she ever step in to protect your daughter from the little boy or ask him not to push her down?
No, I did multiple times. That's
Did
why I
you
said we
talk
needed
the
to
little
leave.
boy or his or her parent or his parents?
I couldn't tell which parent was his, but I did tell the little boy, "Hey, stop. She doesn't like that," twice. And then he still kept trying to do it. And that's when I said that we should leave because it was making her cry. And I didn't like that.
Is this like in a play area at the mall?
Yeah, the mall has like a little play area. They're on 28th Street, that mall. I don't know the name of it, but
Okay.
they have like a little playground.
You indicated that Saida's reaction to that was more to laugh about it rather than to be protective.
Yeah, I found that concerning.
Are you concerned that she's not giving you immediate information regarding serious injuries to your daughter?
Yes.
Do you ever have to discipline your daughter? I know she's little, but
Yeah, no, at my parents' house for Christmas, obviously she's 2 and my parents have tons of little decorations and stuff. So I had to tell her no, come sit down a few times, and she was perfectly fine with that. She listened to no, and when I told her to stop, she did, but I didn't have to yell or anything. She's a little 2-year-old girl. If you raised your voice a little bit, she'd probably cry. So
Okay.
as long as I say no, she was fine with it.
All right. So she listens well to when you tell her no, not to do something.
Yeah.
It sounds like you said you told her to come over and kind of redirected her into a different activity.
Yeah.
Does she do well with redirection from you?
Yeah, she did listen. She came and sat on my lap while instead of playing with the Christmas tree.
Are you aware of whether or not the defendant disciplines her?
I don't know that she does. Seems more like Suri runs that house than Saida.
Have you ever seen the defendant discipline Siri in your presence?
Yeah, if something's like gross and dirty, she'll tell her, "No, stop, don't touch that," because Saida's a germaphobe. But other than that, not really. I mean, she does what she wants. Saida just makes sure things that she doesn't want her to touch are out of her reach, and then gives her free reign to do whatever she wants.
You said that the defendant is able to provide a clean home, clean clothes, and food for your daughter. Could you do those same things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have age-appropriate toys or activities when you see your daughter?
I do, yes.
What types of things would you have for her to play with in your home if she were able to come for, custody or parenting time?
Oh, I already have a room set up for her. It's got stuffed animals and baby dolls with a stroller and like a little sleeping thing to put it in. And I have a crib as well, which is going to be a hard transition because she currently sleeps in the defendant's bed with her.
How do you know that she sleeps with a defendant?
Because the defendant's told me and I've seen it personally every time I've come there. Which is something that was new. She slept in a crib until the day I left.
Were you ever given any explanation as to why that sleeping situation changed?
No.
Do you have, since your daughter's a toddler, is your home and her room toddler proofed?
Yeah, I even have little covers for the outlets.
Are there any dangerous items such as cleaning products or medications within reach of your daughter at your home were she to come there?
No, there wouldn't be. I mean, she hasn't been there yet, so I mean, I would move things around, obviously.
Okay. When you transport your daughter, is she in a child safety seat?
Yes.
Do you have a stroller available for her if she needed it?
No. Saida has one out there, but I don't have one here. I would get one, obviously.
Do you have clothing prepared for your daughter?
No, I don't have clothes yet. Well, actually, I do have 2 outfits that I was gonna give her the next time I saw her. But usually I just make sure that Saida has them because I don't have her enough time to have like a bunch of her clothes. I don't want to buy a bunch of clothes that she's going to grow out of by the time she's with me.
Do you have the capability of buying your daughter a wardrobe and the things that she needs if she were to come to your home?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Are you able to provide toiletries and things of that nature? Do
Yes.
you have any trouble buying groceries or providing food for your daughter?
No.
What types of activities would you do to help your daughter advance her speech and communication level?
I would probably do more like one-on-one things where we're talking about letters and stuff rather than her just watching an educational video. I feel like maybe that the words, it's harder to get down. Like, I think that doing one-on-one and hands-on, because everybody learns differently. I'd probably look up videos on how to help your kid and just work through them with her.
Do you feel that you manage your money well?
Yeah, well, as much as I can when I'm having to fly out to Michigan every month and I'm paying the mortgage and my rent. It's difficult right now, but I feel like once this is all settled and the house is sold and we have it all figured out, it'll be easier. But yeah, for the most part, I manage my money well.
Okay, let's talk a little bit for this so that the court's aware of your ability to provide. Are you employed?
I am.
By whom?
Yes. GRC Consulting. It's my family company.
In what capacity? What's your position?
I'm an area manager for the Colorado Springs area.
What is your rate of pay?
I make $100,000 a year.
So it's a salary.
It is salary, yes.
Are there any bonuses that you're aware of?
There's usually a Christmas bonus. It's determined by the gross income of the area that I'm going to be working in, so it'll be different every time. I haven't gotten one yet since I just got back here. And this is a new position. I used to run the entire northern division, so now I'm expanding the business into Colorado Springs. So it's a new area for me.
Okay. So no bonus yet, but there is that potential.
Yeah. Yes.
It would just fluctuate.
Yes. Correct.
Obviously dependent on company profit for that area.
Right. Yep.
Do you have health insurance available for you and your daughter?
I have health insurance. I was going to get Surrey health insurance, but Saida refused to give me her social security number. Still to this day, I don't have the ability to do that, and they won't give you insurance if you don't have that. But I've priced it out and everything. It's $191 a month for me to get her dental and medical.
That $191 a month, would that be a family rate or is that additional for your child?
That's additional for my child.
Okay, thank you. How many hours a week do you work approximately?
Anywhere from 35 to 45,
Do you
depending
ever
on the weather.
Okay, do you ever work remotely?
I do not.
Have you looked into childcare facilities or family members to do care for Suri while you're at work if you have custody of her?
I have. My mom's agreed to do a couple of days, and my other cousin who works from home, and she only works 3 days a week, has agreed to do a couple of days. So I figured if they both did some, and then maybe I had, there's a few by my house that seem good, like enough for a 1 or 2 days a week. But
Okay.
yeah, I've looked into it.
All right, so if I'm understanding you correctly, there would be about 4 days a week that family members could watch your daughter, and then maybe 1 to 2 days might be a care facility.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Do you work Monday through Friday or something different?
Monday through Friday.
So you're off on Saturdays and Sundays?
Yes.
What are the typical work hours?
Usually jobs are 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day.
Can you describe, I know you talked a little bit about your daughter's bedroom. What type of home are you living in?
I live in a ranch style, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, single family with a backyard.
Is there play equipment in the backyard?
Not currently, but there's room to put some.
Do you have any pets in the home?
I do not.
Does the defendant have any pets to your knowledge?
Yes, she has a cat.
Have there ever been any issues of the cat around Siri that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
She doesn't appear to exhibit any allergies, anything of that nature that you know of.
No, no. And that cat's it doesn't even come around. It's mostly in other rooms, like it avoids people.
Kind of a scaredy cat, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. How do you keep up your home? Do you clean it on a regular basis?
Yeah, absolutely. I clean, like I pick up every day, obviously, and then I do deep cleaning where I clean the bathrooms and the flooring and the sheets and laundry every weekend. Yeah.
Do you believe that your home and the bedroom that you've described for Siri would be a stable and safe environment for her?
I do, yes.
You've talked a little bit about the cleanliness of the defendant's home. Do you see toddler protection up in the defendant's home, such as the outlet covers, things of that nature?
No, no, she does have a baby gate, but it's rarely put up. And when it is put up, it's just sitting there against the thing. Suri knows how to move it. That's how she came down the stairs to stop me from leaving.
How many times does your daughter come down the stairs to stop you from leaving at the end of your parenting time?
She always tries to stop me from leaving, but that was the first time I've ever seen her go down the stairs by herself. I found that concerning. Usually she's in the living room when I leave. So the living room's by the front door.
You indicated a concern there was no handrail on those stairs.
Yeah, yeah. And they're hardwood, so quite dangerous.
There's no like center runner, carpet runner down them or anything like that.
No, and actually some of the nails come up and need to be pounded back down so you could step on them.
How often have you seen that happen?
Oh, when I was living there, I would tap them down once a month probably because they're old stairs. I mean, the house was built in the 60s, I think, or 50s. So, and it's original hardwood. They come up once a month, but I'm not sure that Saida pounds them back down.
Do you know if your daughter's up to date on her immunizations? Should she step accidentally on a nail?
I think that she is, yeah. As far as I know, Saida says she is. I don't know when she got her vaccinations or where she got them, but according to Saida, they did.
You indicated previously you've not been provided a social security number for your daughter by the defendant, true?
Correct, yes.
You haven't been provided the pediatrician's name?
No.
You haven't been provided an immunization record?
No.
Do you have a copy of the birth certificate for your daughter?
No, she won't give me one.
Do you know where to go to obtain that?
The hospital where she had her, I believe, but you have to have the social security number in order to get it.
How long of a period of time have you been trying to obtain that information from the defendant?
Since I left, so since January of 2023.
Have you been able to observe your daughter go to any other residences in Michigan other than the defendant's?
No, she doesn't know anyone out there.
Okay. How do you think that she would, well, let's strike that. Does your daughter do okay exposed to change in environment?
She actually did pretty well at my parents' house, and at my grandmother's house when I took her there. She wanted me to hold her for the good first 10 minutes or so, but then she started to warm up and then she would walk around and explore, and she even was playing with my mom and dad, and that was the first time she'd met them. So yes, I think she handles change well.
How long were you there at your parents' house with Siri?
I'm gonna say 5 hours or something. Well, we went to dinner too, so it was I think it was 5 hours.
Did Siri seem to quickly bond with your grandparents?
Yeah, she was getting there. I mean, she didn't even want them to hold her yet towards the end, but she almost gave them a hug, but then she was like, oh no. She's just a little standoffish. Obviously, she hasn't been around very many people. She's stuck in Michigan with just Saida and her sister most of the year. I think Saida's brought her to Colorado twice in the last year and a half.
Now, explain to me how you ended up in Colorado. Did you and the defendant originally live in Colorado?
Yeah. So that's where we met. I'm from Colorado. I'm a native. Saida lived there when we met. We spent our entire marriage there, and our whole dating. So we met actually in 2010. So we lived there the whole time. We moved to Michigan once she got pregnant because she didn't want to be around my parents anymore. Like she had, once you read the friend of the court thing and the therapist stuff, that she'd had a bunch of issues with, I don't know, delusions according with my parents. So she wanted us to leave. So we left. Then she had the kid. Everything was okay, but then she started being delusional about me. And then she said she wanted to leave and she was going to go back to Colorado. And I said, that's fine. And she's like, well, I can't pack all of this stuff with you here. Can you leave? I said, yes. So I came back to Colorado and I spent a week with my parents, telling them what was going on and everything and trying to rebuild the relationship that I had torn down by leaving. And then I flew back to Michigan. By the time I'd gotten to Michigan, I was there for a day, I believe. And then Saida said, oh, I want to come back to Michigan. I decided I don't want to be in Colorado. So I had already made up with my parents and planned on going back to the family business eventually and everything once something opened up. So, and I had the ability to make more money there. So it kind of messed me up there because I knew our marriage was failing and I needed a way to provide for my daughter. And I didn't think that Saida would stay in Michigan forever by herself. That seemed unrealistic. So that's kind of where we're at.
To your knowledge, does the defendant have any relatives in Michigan?
Oh, she doesn't. No,
To your knowledge, does the defendant have any friends in Michigan?
no, she does not.
And the defendant previously to your testimony indicated to the court that she became unemployed in October of 2023. Did she inform you of that?
I don't, she wasn't really employed that before that. She was doing like tarot things online. I guess she just stopped doing that. I don't know that I would consider that change in employment.
Let's talk a bit. You've spoken a lot about your employment. When you were married and living in Colorado, what was the defendant's employment at that time, if any?
Throughout our marriage, she had a part-time job after going through beauty school all the way until I want to say on and off different places. Well, she was at the same one. She never carried a full-time job, but I think like 2017 or 2018, she could only keep jobs for a month or two at a time, all the way until we left Michigan. She had a hard time staying employed most of that time because of her. She was being harassed at her works, according to her.
Did you ever go to her workplace and see any of this harassment occurring?
Oh, I went to all of her workplaces. I never saw any harassment. No.
All right. Did she graduate high school? She being your wife?
Yes,
You said something about beauty school. Did she complete beauty school?
she did. Yeah, while we were together, I worked full time while she went to school.
And after beauty school, is there any licensing test or anything that she has to take that you're aware of?
Yeah, I believe every few years she has to do the DORA thing, which is like a Colorado way to make sure that your license keeps being updated. And as far as I know, she's kept that up to date three times since she's gotten it.
And so that license is for what? Do you know?
It's cosmetology. It's not just Barbary, but she can do nails, facials, and hair.
When she was employed in Colorado during your marriage, what was her approximately rate of income?
I want to say she was making like $700 to $800 a week, and that was part time. She had quite the client list when she was gainfully employed.
To your knowledge, the clients liked her.
Yeah.
And did that $700 to $800, to your knowledge, include tips, or was that above that wage?
I think that included tips. I think there was sometimes more than that. It depends. It was very fluctuating, the hair business, because obviously you're not always fully busy, but she sometimes made even more than that. But I would say that the $700 to $800 on average a week.
For what period of time was she earning that?
So the first 3 years out of cosmetology school, she worked at Ulta. She was making that. And then she worked at the Bad Kitty salon. And she was making more than that there. I want to say she was making $1,200 to $1,300 a week. She was making quite a bit of money at the Bad Kitty salon. And she worked there for about a year and a half. And then after that, she never really stayed anywhere for longer than a few months.
Is the Ulta store and the Bad Kitty salon located close to your home?
My current home? No. Oh, there is an Ulta in Colorado Springs. Yeah, there's one that's not very far from my house. But the Bad Kitty's in downtown Denver.
I see, okay. To your knowledge, is the license of the defendant still valid?
Yes.
And when I say the license, I should specify cosmetology license.
Yes, correct.
Now, do you have a valid driver's license, sir?
I do,
Does the defendant have a valid driver's license?
to my knowledge.
Do you have any current alcohol or drug addiction or substance abuse dependency?
I do not.
To your knowledge, does the defendant?
Not to my knowledge.
To your knowledge, has the defendant dated anyone while you have been separated?
Not to my knowledge.
Have you?
Like seriously, or I've been on a few dates, but I'm not in a relationship.
Has anybody been introduced to your daughter?
No. Not to my knowledge by her, or definitely not by myself.
Would you intend to do that?
Not with anyone that I know currently, no.
Do you swear? Or use curse
Like-
words?
Curse words? I mean, I work in construction, so I try not to do it too often, but yes, I do swear from time to time.
Do you do that in the presence of your child?
No, not that I can remember, not intentionally.
How about the defendant? Does she swear or curse?
I'm sure just a little bit. I think I've heard my daughter say a few curse words already, so she must.
What have you heard your daughter say?
The F word and shit.
Have you ever said those in front of Siri?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you honestly. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think so.
All right. Is that having any effect on your daughter that you can tell other than her mimicking those words?
No, I don't think so.
Has there ever been any domestic violence in your marriage?
Yeah,
Okay. Let me break that down. Have you ever been physically violent with the defendant?
no,
Has the defendant ever been physically violent with you?
yes.
Please tell the court what has happened.
She's given me a few black eyes. We had a domestic dispute when we first started dating. She got a DV for scratching my face, but then it was withdrawn because I wouldn't testify against her. She's tried to push me down the stairs before. I don't know, just some violent tendencies sometimes. I wouldn't say it was regularly, but definitely a little bit more often towards the end there and a lot more in the beginning.
Okay. Talk about how many times she gave you a black eye.
4 times probably.
Was that before or after the birth of your daughter?
Before.
What about the scratches on your face? When did that happen?
It had to have been like November, I think, of 2011 or 12.
Okay. When was the last time that you recall the defendant being physically violent towards you?
The week that I left, she tried to push me down the stairs, but I caught myself, thank God.
When was that? What month?
Had to have been either late December or early January of 2022, 2023, right there. I couldn't tell you the exact date. Didn't write it down.
Where was your daughter at the time that occurred?
She was in her bedroom. Or her bed. One of the two. She wasn't in the same room. She wasn't holding her or anything.
But she was present in the house?
She was, yeah.
Was there a verbal argument or something going on?
Yeah. Yeah, we argued quite a bit the last few months. That's part of the decision why I didn't want to, like, we fought quite a bit. It was a lot of arguing. I didn't think it was going to be a healthy situation for Surrey.
Has there been any physical violence towards the child that you're aware of by either yourself or the defendants?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
How do you consider your moral fitness and ability to raise your daughter with good morals?
I think it's good. I think that I have good morals. I try to be a good person, try to do the right thing, help others when I can.
What about the moral fitness of the defendant? Do you have concerns about it?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure.
Well, let me ask it this way. Have you always considered her to tell the truth about things?
No, no, definitely not. Well, whether she believes it's the truth or not, that's a different question. Like, I think that she might believe some of the lies she says. That's the hard part about that, you know?
Let's talk a little bit about that. Do you have any mental or physical health concerns?
No, no, no. And I think if you read the examination or whatever by Dr. Jeffrey, you'll see that I was open and honest, and he didn't have any concerns about me. Neither do I.
All right. I don't know if the court has a copy of that now. Has the court received it?
Yes.
Okay. At this point, I don't know if you want me to screen share it or just have the parties reference it.
I don't think we need to screen share it. For one thing, we're streaming on YouTube, so that's probably not something we want everybody to see.
Correct. It's my understanding, Mr. Carson, that you received a psychological evaluation from Dr. Jeff, he likes to be called. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And when was that
from
completed?
HRA? It was complete. I don't know the date exactly. I think it was 3 months ago. Well, the initial, because it's 2 different times, and then it was like a month and a half in between. I don't know the exact dates, but it was completed within the last 45 days or something like that. Oh no, I guess it was 2 months because it was right before our last court date that got postponed.
All right. And you had an opportunity then to review that report and discuss it with Dr. Jeff?
No, I just got the report and that was it. I didn't get to discuss it with him.
All right. To the best of your knowledge, was that also provided to the court under the last order?
Not until just now, I guess.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to mark that as People's Proposed Exhibit 1.
You mean plaintiff's proposed Exhibit 1?
I'm sorry. Yes, that's the former prosecutor in me. Plaintiff.
Are you asking for it just to be marked, or do you want it admitted at this time?
I would like it marked unadmitted, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Carson, any objection to admitting that report?
I believe that there's a lot of false statements made, but
Goes to weight, not admissibility, Your Honor, and she has the ability to cross-examine.
I would agree, Ms. Carson. That is, I guess the basis for an objection would be if you don't believe that that's the actual report. You'll have the opportunity to cross-examine on that and to raise issues about that.
okay.
So I will admit that report.
And you said you believed you were open and honest, Mr. Carson, with Dr. Jeff?
Absolutely, yes.
And to your knowledge, were there any findings that you had any difficulties in your ability to parent?
No, there wasn't any. He had no concerns with my ability to parent or co-parent.
Did you also have an opportunity to review an HRA report by Dr. Jeff prepared regarding his interviews of the defendant?
I did not get a chance to do that. I believe I hadn't gotten it. I don't know if I still have. I haven't looked at my email.
Okay. Do you know if one was prepared and submitted to the court as well?
I do know that one was prepared and submitted, yes.
Was it to your knowledge, in a similar format as the one that was prepared for yourself?
To my knowledge, yes.
Dr. Jeff provided that to the court under the prior order.
I believe so.
Did you review that briefly with me prior to your testimony, sir?
I did, yeah.
Move for admission of Exhibit 2, Your Honor, as prepared by an expert ordered by this court to provide it to the court and the parties.
Ms. Carson, any objection?
No.
Okay, it's admitted. It's Exhibit 2.
Thank you. With respect to the review of that report that you and I went over, Mr. Carson, do you know if Dr. Jeff had any concerns, first with the ability of the defendant to co-parent?
Yes, he did.
Do you recall what those concerns were?
I believe he said that he believes she may have a delusional disorder, but he deferred that she might need more therapy or something. I don't know the exact words he used.
Okay. And then did he make an opinion or formulate an opinion, if you know, that we went over regarding the defendant's ability to parent?
Yes, I believe he did have some concerns with that as well.
For the same reason or something different, if you recall?
I think it was the same reasons.
Do you know or recall the basis of his opinion for the potential delusional disorder that he thought she may have?
I think it was based off of the report from the friend of the court, as well as their in-person interviews about the issues that she'd brought up, calling the FBI and Child Protective Services and accusing my family and me of having child trafficking rings and having people stalk her, as well as having someone drug her and artificially inseminate her. Oh, as well as, yeah, sorry. And that she had takes like normal, like little kid things and turns them into grooming my daughter. That was part of it, I think.
To your knowledge, was Dr. Jeff able to find any factual bases or proof or evidence of these accusations being true?
No, he was not.
To the best of your knowledge, has anyone else ever come to you and investigated these or had any proof or evidence that these things were true?
No, they've never been proven true. They've all been proven false.
Have you ever been charged with any physical or sexual abuse of any child?
No, never.
Have you ever been charged of that with respect to your own daughter, Siri?
No,
Would you ever harm your daughter?
absolutely not.
Have you ever groomed your daughter?
No,
Have you ever run a human trafficking ring regarding children or anyone else with your parents?
no, never.
And for that matter, have you ever run a human trafficking ring with anyone?
No, not at all.
Do you happen to know where these beliefs of the defendant are coming from?
Honestly, I have no idea. She said that there was jokes or something that she took the wrong way, which I don't remember ever even hearing a joke. Like, people don't really joke about trafficking humans. I don't know where it came up from. I have no idea.
To your knowledge, has the defendant ever been hospitalized for any mental health concerns?
Not to my knowledge.
To your knowledge, has she ever been treated for any mental health concerns? She being the defendant.
Yeah, I think she went to a psychologist once or something. I think she took some selective serotonin inhibitors for like a week, but then stopped. She said that she wasn't diagnosed with anything, so to my knowledge.
Understand that you've been separated for a period of time. When you were together with the defendant, did she exhibit mental health concerns that you could observe?
Yeah, yes.
What did you see exhibited in the defendant when you were living together?
Towards the end of the relationship, she was hiding her food out in the car and locking it away. She wouldn't leave water in the same room as me. She thought I was going to poison her. She's denied this over and over, but it happened. She said that she was being stalked by a police officer. She said that she was being stalked by the gym manager that she was working at for a while. I believe there was one other person. And I'd never observed any of it, nor had anyone else that I'd talked to.
Did you ever see anyone following your wife?
No,
Did you ever see anyone sitting outside the home or the gym or her place of business?
I didn't know.
Did you ever find any tracking devices on her vehicle or listening devices in her phone?
Nope. And we've looked. She had me look multiple times, and she even took her vehicle to get it looked at after I'd left. And they said that there wasn't anything that they could find, to my knowledge. That's what she said anyway.
How many times did you look for those things at the request of your wife?
A few times. I don't know exactly how many. That's why we got rid of her newer car and got her an older car, because she wanted something that didn't have GPS. She thought that the GPS in her car could be hacked and people would know where she was going. She would even leave her phone at home sometimes so that she couldn't be followed.
How often would she leave her phone?
Quite often. She even went and bought prepaid phones a few times, burner phones, so that people wouldn't follow her. She also thought that the music at grocery stores and stuff was people playing music to harass her.
How many times did she express that in the grocery store?
Oh, a lot. Probably every time we went for the last 3 years of our marriage. She would either wear headphones or something, or she didn't even want to go. She always thought that someone was playing music and it was just for her.
Did you try to dissuade her of that belief?
I did.
Were you successful in doing so?
No. Sometimes, I don't know if she just was appeasing me by saying, yeah, you're probably right. But then a week or so later, it would go back to the same thing. Like it was like a recurring process of trying to dissuade her from the believing things that weren't real.
Did you ever think that she may need professional mental health assistance with those beliefs?
Yeah, the one time that she went and saw that therapist and was on SSRIs was because I requested her go.
Has she never shared any of that information with you other than the one medication?
Yeah, no, she didn't want to go. She thought that whoever the doctors she was going to go see were hired by my parents, so she didn't trust anyone.
Did you allow her to help you choose where she would go?
Oh yeah, I told her I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I didn't want to know if that helped her or whatever, and she could look it up at the library or something. None of that helped.
What did she think your parents were doing other than running this human trafficking ring?
Oh, I mean, she thought that they had like a whole network of people that the people that I said were stalking her were actually hired by my parents or in some kind of collusion with them, as well as people who came into her work to harass her were also like people who worked for my parents and their mass ring of people that they could control with their money.
Where do your parents reside?
In a house in North Glen, or I guess it's Westminster.
I guess. Is that Colorado?
Yeah, it's in Colorado.
And do they have any employees to your knowledge in Michigan?
No.
To your knowledge, did your parents hire anybody to follow or watch your wife?
No. And I'd talked to them about it a bunch of times, and obviously it was hurtful for me to have to ask them that. There was at a time where she could be quite convincing that I tried to believe her as much as I could to make our marriage work. But in the end, obviously it was once she started to point the finger at me and all this sexual stuff, the child trafficking ring and all that, I realized that probably a lot of the things that she had said in the last few years were more delusional than they were of facts.
Was there anything regarding these concerns expressed to you by the defendant that you could find through the years of your marriage that proved any of her beliefs about being stalked or followed or listened to be true?
Never once. I tried a lot. I really wanted to believe her, but no, I never could once find any factual evidence. There was never like, I always thought if you were being stalked that eventually you would get a note. Usually stalking progresses, you get a note or flowers or something. None of that had ever occurred.
Okay. And with respect to these beliefs, do you know if the defendant disclosed them to authorities that caused you concern or difficulty?
Luckily her things are so outlandish that they would call me and they would say, oh, well, she said something, but they didn't even she said something, she called CPS on me But they were like, "Oh, so your daughter doesn't even live with you?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Oh, well, we'll just write this off." But it hasn't really done anything to me. But to my knowledge, she's called the FBI, CPS, the police officers, probably anyone you could find online.
Has anything ever come of those calls that you have been personally made aware of?
Nope.
You had an opportunity to review the friend of the court report and recommendation. Is that true, sir?
Yes,
And in fact, that went to the court as well. Do you recall that
I do. Yes.
under the order? Your Honor, if we could have that marked as proposed exhibit 3.
Again, are you asking for it to be just marked, or are you asking for the admission?
I'll ask for admission after I just go over it a little bit with him and lay the foundation, Your Honor.
All right. It is marked as exhibit 3.
Thank you. Mr. Carson, with that friend of the court report and recommendation, you said you've had an opportunity to view that prior to your testimony today. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
And in fact, you wanted us to file an objection regarding that report and recommendation. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. Yes.
Did that report contain much of the information from the defendant to that investigator that you've just testified to?
Yeah, she admitted that she had done all of those things.
To your knowledge, did the friend of the court investigator find any evidence supporting those allegations?
He did not.
To the best of your ability, the copy that we received from the investigator is the same one that was provided to the court without any changes?
Correct.
Okay. Move for admission of exhibit 3, Your Honor.
Ms. Carson, any objection?
Yeah, I object. There's many false statements made.
Again, you are able to cross-examine and give your own testimony regarding that. The question is that the front of the court recommendation?
Front of the court recommendation.
Is that the recommendation that was issued, what you were sent?
That I was sent?
You would have been given, the front of the court sent you a recommendation this fall, and then Mr. Carson objected to it.
Oh, I guess I'm not sure. We could just move on. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm not able to admit it without a stipulation by the parties. So go ahead, Ms. Canfield.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Carson, did you object to the legal custody being with either the defendant or both of you?
Yes,
Why did you object to that?
because she is clearly incapable of making decisions based on facts. She believes things that aren't real.
Do you think that that could impact her ability to make well-reasoned decisions regarding your daughter?
I do. I mean, what if she believes that the doctor, the physician that I take my daughter to has in cahoots with whoever or something? I don't know. There's just a lot of liability there.
Do you have the capability of looking at all of the facts in the best interest of your daughter and making well-reasoned decisions regarding her upbringing?
I do. I do.
Could you make decisions about her medical care reasonably?
Yes. Yeah.
Could you make decisions about her dental and vision care if needed?
I could.
Can you make decisions about your daughter's schooling and social and, sport activities when she's old enough in the best interest of your daughter?
I believe so. Yeah.
What about her religious upbringing?
I think that I could do a great job of giving her all of the options.
If you were to be granted sole legal custody to make those decisions by this court, would you still keep the defendant in the loop and inform her of what's happening with Siri?
Absolutely. I would never want to take my daughter away from her mother. I just want the best for my daughter.
When the defendant had legal custody or joint with you, did she give you any information pertaining to those items that we just discussed?
No. No, she did not.
Do you believe moving forward, she would be able to provide you information regarding those particular items?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you have concerns about the defendant's ability to co-parent on those legal decisions with you?
Mm. Yeah, I feel like we rarely agree anymore.
Do you think that the defendant would have the capability of setting aside any of those beliefs that we had your testimony regarding? Set those things aside and make a well-reasoned, fact-based decision for your daughter?
Mm. I I'm not a therapist. I couldn't tell you exactly. I mean, it changes. So I think that she's trying. She's been working on it. We I think
You
she's
said
been working on it, but
it changes and it vacillates, much like the decision about schooling or religious upbringing and exposure.
correct.
Regarding the physical custody of your daughter, what physical custody would you like to have?
I would like to have 50-50. But if I had to have sole legal custody until she could get her mental stability better, then I could do that too. But obviously, I think that the more healthier decision would be 50-50. A child needs both parents.
So you think 50-50 physical custody would be in the best interest of your daughter?
I do.
Would you be able to exercise that in Michigan if it were to be granted?
I could find a way. If Saida decided she was going to stay in Michigan, then I would probably find a way to move back. My daughter's more important than my job.
Have you and the defendant spoken about whether or not she's going to remain in Michigan?
Yeah, I question her about it quite frequently, almost every time we video call. And the more recent video calls, she said that she's willing to move to not only Colorado, but Colorado Springs to be closer to me so that when we are co-parenting, that the availability to either of us in an emergency situation is easier.
And to your knowledge, is there a better support system for the defendant in Colorado versus Michigan?
Oh yeah. Her mom, she has like 4 aunts that live here, an uncle, lots of cousins. She has a lot of family out here.
If the defendant doesn't move from Michigan, do you still want 50-50 parenting time?
No, I would rather have full custody. I think that it would be better for my daughter to be here. But if I only got 50-50, then I would move back. But if I feel like the best situation for Surya is to be in Colorado, where there's lots and lots of family and help and structure.
Describe the community that Siri was exposed to when she came out to Colorado for Christmas and stayed with your parents and you.
It was my parents' first time seeing my daughter, so it was just the 4 of us. Didn't really want to take away from that experience for them. But when I was over at my grandma's house, my cousin Rich and his wife were there, as well as my uncle and his wife.
This Siri seemed to adjust well to that number of people being present.
Yeah, she seemed fine. She was just playing, walking around, looking at things. I mean, it took her a little while each time at the new places to get more comfortable, but within, I'd say 30 minutes or so, that she was more comfortable and able to explore and act more like a toddler.
To your knowledge, are there any special circumstances or needs that your daughter has, medically or otherwise?
No, she seems perfectly normal to me and healthy.
And you indicated she's 2 years of age and she's weaned and not nursing any longer.
That's correct.
Is there any likelihood that she would be abused or neglected in your household?
No,
Is there any likelihood that with the exercise of parenting time or joint physical custody with the defendant, that the defendant would be harmed by you at all?
no, absolutely not.
Is there any likelihood that you could potentially be harmed by the defendant if there was shared physical custody of your daughter?
No, I mean, we wouldn't be spending significant amounts of time together, so I don't think so. I
Okay.
think that we could handle an hour or whatever at a time where we're transferring the child and maybe talking and making parental decisions.
If the two of you were living either both in Michigan or both in Colorado, would there be any inconvenience that you can foresee with exercising that parenting time as far as travel is concerned?
No, but I feel like if she didn't stick to the same schedule there as she did at my house, that it would be more difficult. Like she can't go to sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning over there, and then the next time she's at my house, she wakes up at 5. That's obviously not going to be good for her. So I feel like if I don't know that Saida could co-parent in the fact keeping the same schedule as I think that Suri should have.
So you're concerned and think that the defendant's schedule for your daughter would not be consistent with yours, and that would cause hardship and difficulties for your child?
Yeah, exactly. Like when I went to go pick her up for my time, she probably would still be asleep or whatever, and it would be a problematic.
With the current parenting time order, are you paying all of the travel expenses?
I pay 100% of the travel expenses as well as the mortgage on the house.
Being unemployed, do you have any reasonable expectation that the defendant could get a refinancing option for the marital home within 45 days
No.
of the judgment?
No, not to my knowledge.
Do you anticipate then that the marital home will end up being sold and you being paid equity?
Correct.
Would you anticipate that would then encourage the defendant's relocation back to Colorado to exercise custody and parenting time there?
I would hope so, yes. She's said as much.
Have you ever failed to exercise your parenting time since the temporary order was put into place?
Not that it was my cause. There was one time that I wanted to go, and I had already purchased tickets and let her know everything well ahead of time, and she said that she wasn't going to be home. So that was one time that I had taken off of work and everything to come and see my daughter, but I couldn't because she said she wasn't going to be home.
How much
But
notice?
anytime that I could, that I did. How much notification? I usually give a month or at least 2.5 weeks or something, as soon as I can figure out when I can have time off, because obviously I have to plan when I have to leave the state to see her.
Certainly. And do you recall the month that that happened where the defendant withheld that parenting time from you?
I want to say it was June of last year.
Have you ever withheld returning the child to the defendant?
Absolutely not. No.
Would you ever do so?
No.
Has the defendant, other than this June of 2023 time, ever stated to you that she would not give the child back to you or allow you to have parenting time?
No, she hasn't stated that. No, she's not really concerned about how much time I spend with her either. Like I said, she doesn't wake up till 11, and if I have to leave at 5, then that's all the time I get.
Do you think that she would be consistent in following a parenting time order if there was joint physical custody and you had more parenting time?
I don't know. I would hope so, but I'm not
The
sure.
pattern has been to let the child sleep irregular hours and miss parenting time with you when you travel to Michigan to exercise it. Do you think that still would be the same habit or pattern in Colorado by the defendant?
Probably, yes.
Is that one of the bases for which you're requesting sole physical custody?
Yes.
Do you have the capability of having overnight parenting time for your daughter?
Yes.
You would be able to be there with her overnight rather than her being in care?
Oh, yeah. I have a very regular schedule, so I would be there the whole time.
If you were to have both physical custody, what parenting schedule would you propose for the defendant?
I suppose there would be, if I had sole custody,
Correct.
I would propose that we do things together on the weekend where she spends time with Suri until she can prove that she can be more reliable, and maybe have like another recommendation from a different therapist that she's working on things, like, I guess, until we could get along. And if she's clearly not showing any more signs of delusion, obviously I would rather work back towards 50-50. So I would start small and see how we could make it work.
So weekend parenting time during the daytime?
Yeah.
And then would you like, you've mentioned some therapies. Would you like the defendant to see another therapist?
Yeah. I obviously want her to have the best mental health available for herself so that she can be a better mother.
Would you encourage her to follow the recommendations of that provider?
I would, yes.
Do you wish to ask the court to order her to have additional treatment for her mental health and to provide proof of that to either the court or yourself?
Yes.
I don't think I asked you. I know we discussed employment, Mr. Carson, but what is your educational background? Just briefly.
I just graduated high school. I started working full-time immediately after high school.
You indicated, we talked about your employment. That was a new job that occurred after the friend of the court investigation. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. So when I first moved back, I worked at a landfill for a while me and my dad decided what would be best as to where my position should be held back with the company. So I just started in October.
Do you believe that will be consistent employment in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, absolutely. I worked here for 10 years before we left. So it's my family business. I plan on being here till I retire.
Right. So we've already updated the court with your updated income level. You said you weren't aware that the defendant had become unemployed. Do you believe the defendant has the ability to be full-time employed?
I do, yeah.
And did you and my office conduct some investigation as to what the mean or median employment levels were for cosmetologists in Colorado?
Yeah, I believe you did.
Okay.
You told me it was like $33,000 or $38,000 a year.
And did you have an opportunity to review those documents that were attached to your objection?
I didn't know.
You had indicated previously you thought at the best time of employment, the defendant was making $1,200 to $1,300 a week.
Yes,
Feel she's capable of making that same income level at another salon?
I do. Yeah. She was a pretty good cosmetologist when she did it.
Are you asking the court to impute to her a higher income level based upon that cosmetology licensure and the fact that she'd earned that amount previously?
Yes,
Do you think that the defendant is intentionally unemployed currently?
I do.
Is there anything else that you would like the court to know regarding the friend of the court recommendation or the things that we've discussed today through your testimony?
No, I don't think so.
You indicated that the defendant resides with her sister. Is that true?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, is the sister any type of a danger to your daughter?
I'm not sure. I know that she has had a traumatic brain injury and she takes schizophrenic medication. So basically, it seems like Saida's taking care of two people instead of having a support system.
When you've been present in the home, have you seen the defendant's sister there?
Yes.
Has she ever exhibited any behaviors that caused you concern regarding a toddler being in the household?
No, she mostly just sits around.
Do you think that there's any reason, Mr. Carson, that your parenting time should be supervised with your daughter?
No, absolutely not.
Were there ever times where the defendant threw things in the household?
Yeah, she's thrown things at me a few times.
Was that before your daughter was born, after, or both?
It was before. Yeah.
How many times did she throw things?
But I couldn't be sure. I don't know the number. More than a handful.
What types of objects were thrown?
cell phone, remote, cast iron skillet, candles, a glass. Yeah, that's what I can remember.
Was anything damaged when that happened?
Yeah, my cell phone was broken. The door to our first house, the one that we lived in Thornton, was damaged. Obviously the glass broke. But no, other than that,
Were you ever injured by the items being thrown?
no, I have pretty good reaction time, so I blocked most of it. But
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about this last incident in late December of 22, early January of 23, where the defendant tried to push you down the house or down the
Yeah.
stairs of the house. What
Yeah.
happened at that time?
I believe we were in an argument having to do with her thinking I was trying to poison her, or keeping water in the other rooms, or I think it was like a culmination of all the things she was saying about me grooming our daughter as well. That obviously pressed a pretty annoying button for me. So I obviously was upset. She also was upset, and I think I said I was leaving the house for good, and that's when she tried to push me down the stairs.
Is this the current house in which the defendant's residing?
That's correct. Yes.
And you indicated those are hardwood steps?
They
previously?
are.
How many steps?
There's a set and then a little landing and then another set. I'm not sure. I think there's 7 on both sides. But there's a window at the bottom of the top set, which is where she pushed me from. That's what made me the most angry. I actually left the house after that.
There's no handrail there, correct?
Right.
How were you able to prevent your fall?
I grabbed onto the wall. I've used both hands to make pressure so that I wouldn't go down.
Where was the defendant pushing you?
From my back.
Were you injured at all that time?
I wasn't, no.
Would you agree to share medical, dental, school, and other reports of your daughter with the defendant?
Yes.
Would you agree to notify her if there was an emergency or medical care that needed to be obtained quickly for your daughter?
Yes, of course.
Would you encourage and foster a relationship with the defendant and your daughter?
Yes.
Do you think that either of you need co-parenting counseling?
I think she does. I think I understand the concept pretty well, and I've followed all of the rules as far as and I have had a lot more rules than she has. So
Once the judgment of divorce is entered by this court, are you aware of any source of income the defendant has to support herself and the child?
just the savings account she has and the money that she'll get from the house.
When you say money from the house, you mean if the house is sold?
Yeah, I mean, we have quite a bit of equity. So between that and her savings account, she probably could not be employed for a while on that. So
Okay. Let's just talk about that for just a moment. So the court's aware, what is the current value of the marital home?
the last time I just looked at the Zillow estimate, I think it was 330 or 340,000.
Shall we go 335 to the middle?
Yeah, let's go
Okay.
335.
And then
And
do you know what the mortgage is that you're paying? What the balance is?
yeah, and I think we owe 93. It's like 93 or 94,000.
Okay, we'll go 93. We'll give everybody the benefit of the payment for February.
Okay.
Okay. And then as previously stated on the record, you two had agreed to either split the equity 50-50, where she would have to pay you if she kept the house and refinance. Or obviously, if it's sold, then the sale price minus the mortgage and closing costs would become your equity. Do you agree to that?
Yeah, correct.
Is that what you're asking the court to impose?
Yes, it is.
Would you agree that the child support should be calculated based upon your current income and imputed mean income for a cosmetologist for the defendant, and then based upon overnights.
Yeah, depending on the timing of obviously if whatever the parenting time is, I want to support my daughter. So I'm not fighting on the money. I just don't want it to be unfair. If it's 50-50, I don't think I should be paying her.
I have no further questions, Mr. Carson. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Carson, this is your opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Carson on his testimony. So you need to ask him questions.
Are you sure we don't have a handrail on the stairs?
I'm pretty positive that there's not one. That's what they said when we moved in.
How are you able to catch yourself from falling? If you were
I
down
think
the stairs.
I either use like the bathroom door jamb or the two walls. I don't know. You were there. I caught my balance.
Okay, this one is just the easiest for me to prove that it was false. I could just grab the computer and show you guys the stairs really quick.
But that's not what
Is there-
the purpose of this is. This is the time
Oh.
for you to ask him questions, and then I'll
Okay.
give you an opportunity to present what you want to present afterwards, okay? Do you have any other questions for Mr. Carson
Oh, like questions as in,
about his testimony?
oh,
Again, if you had an attorney, your attorney would be what cross-examining him on his testimony, asking him questions on issues that you want to raise. But it's again, since you're representing yourself, it's on you to ask him questions. And if you don't have any, that's fine. But they need to be questions.
questions and not objections. Okay. No, I don't have any questions then.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Camfield, did you wish to call Ms. Carson as a witness?
Yes, I think I will. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. I will just let the parties know that I only have until noon today, and that we may have to set this for additional time, but I want to give it up to noon if we can.
Certainly, Your Honor. Since this is the opposing party, Your Honor, permission to treat as a hostile witness?
Granted.
Thank you. Ms. Carson, that only means that we have opposing sides, not that you're necessarily a hostile person, okay? Let me ask, you were married to my client, Nicholas Carson, is that correct?
Yes.
For how long, ma'am?
Since 2015.
You met and were initially married in Colorado, is that true?
Yes.
And then you had your daughter, in what year, ma'am?
2022. January.
Were there any difficulties that you had with your pregnancy or the birth of your daughter?
Yeah, she was, I was in labor for 7 hours and they had to use a suction cup. And she was fine. She was a healthy weight, but she was born with jaundice.
Okay. Did that resolve itself over the next few weeks?
Yes.
Okay. And your daughter's currently 2, is that accurate?
Yes.
Can you describe for the court what type of a routine you keep for her at home?
You know, I was going to get her into a regular schedule once she's closer to, you know, being in preschool. But since she's not in preschool, I go to bed around midnight and I wake up around 10. And she does the same. We have the same schedule.
Okay. And there was testimony from my client that the sleeping arrangement prior to his leaving the home was that your child would sleep in her own room. Is that true?
Yeah.
And then when he moved out, your child started to sleep in the bed with you?
Yeah, we co-sleep. Yes.
Can you describe for the court why you chose to co-sleep after the defendant left?
Oh, it just makes me feel safer. I don't have any weapons or anything in the house. If there were to be like a break-in, you know, I could she'd just be right there, you know. Wouldn't have to run to her bedroom. It just makes me feel safer.
I see. Have there been any concerns that you had previously with any break-ins or danger in your neighborhood?
No.
Do you read to your daughter?
Yes.
What other activities do you do with her?
We go to the park. We go on walks. We go shopping to the mall.
What types of things does your daughter like to do?
She loves to go to the library and she loves to go to the park.
What are her favorite things to do with you at the park?
The swing and the slide.
Does your daughter exhibit some speech delays as described by my client, Mr. Carson?
Yeah, she stopped hitting her milestones at 18 months, which is the age where autism starts to show up, based on what the pediatrician stated.
You currently have her scheduled for an evaluation for that. Is that accurate?
Yes,
And do you know what date and time?
yes, it's March 3rd.
What time, please?
I'll have to take a look at it again, but I did send a copy to the plaintiff's lawyer.
Okay. If that is not found, would you be willing to inform Mr. Carson of that evaluation date and time again?
Oh, of course.
Now, Mr. Carson testified that you have not previously been willing to provide him with the physician's names and the dates of doctor's appointments. Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate. I've been going to the same place ever since forever. I've never changed locations. So he's always had access to calling the office that I go to. And when we video chat, I always do tell him about how the appointments go.
Do you offer that information or does Mr. Carson have to ask you for it?
Oh, I just kind of tell him, when he asks about her, I try to include her, anything that happens at all.
Have you ever provided Mr. Carson a copy of your daughter's social security card or the number?
No, I haven't.
Has he asked for it?
Yes.
Why do you think he doesn't deserve to have his daughter's social security number?
He asked for it one time and I forgot to give it to him. He never asked again. So I just forgot.
Are you willing to provide that now?
Yeah. He's came to the house many times, he could have asked me and I could have just showed it to him. That would have been easier than sending it.
Well, knowing that he asked for it, Mrs. Carson, couldn't you just take a photocopy of it and mail it to him if you were concerned about things going over the internet or handed it to him during some parenting time?
He could have asked me.
And you could have also provided it, fair?
Yeah.
Now, what about your daughter's birth certificate? Do you have a copy of that?
Yes.
Have you ever made a copy for your husband?
No, I haven't.
Do you agree with me that he's asked for that as well?
No, he's only asked for his social security number over the phone so he could, for health insurance reasons.
Okay. Would you agree with me that it would be really great to have your daughter on some additional health insurance through his plan?
She's on Medicaid and she didn't have health insurance when he was living here. And I got her health insurance as soon as he moved out.
Okay. You understand he has the ability to have a good private insurance for her now, true?
Yeah.
Are you willing to allow him to do that so that he can provide for her medically as well?
Yes.
Would you agree to provide him a copy of her birth certificate?
Yes.
Now, there's been a lot of discussion about concerns that you have regarding being surveilled. Is that fair, Ms. Carson, with listening devices or tracking devices on your phone or your vehicle?
No, I don't. Our cell phones were owned by his parents while he was working for them. I've only expressed something once or twice. He's expressed the same.
Okay.
I always thought we were on the same page with that. That's why we got new cell phones.
Okay. So when you say the cell phone's owned by his parents, were you concerned that they put some type of a tracking device on there so they would know where you and Nick were?
No, I just didn't really want cell phones owned by his parents. So we got different ones. Since they're company cell phones, he didn't work for the company anymore.
Would you agree with me that well, let me ask first, did you have an opportunity to look at your psychological evaluation from Dr. Jeff?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to look at the front of the court investigation and report that has been submitted but not yet admitted to the court?
I don't think so.
Did you receive a copy of that from the front of the court? They would have served it to you.
Oh, you mean like in the mail? There's a link. No, I never got it in the mail, but there's a link on my email and I have to make an account for it to get into it. So.
Okay, so you hadn't yet done that.
What was that?
You haven't yet done that to link it and make an account so you can look at that report?
No, I just took my husband's word for what it said.
Okay. Now, based upon that report, would you agree with me that you've disclosed to that investigator as well as Dr. Jeff that you believe that people were listening to your conversations over the phones?
Because they're company phones, yes, I might have stated that once.
Okay. Did you ever tell anyone that you thought you were being stalked by people at work or by employees of my client's parents?
There were some strange things happening at my work, but I wouldn't say I was being physically stalked by a person, by his parents. I never stated that I was.
Do you recall disclosing to people, either the investigators or even directly to my client, that you thought he and his parents were running a human trafficking ring?
I think that, I didn't type up the police report, so I think I might have misworded some things. I don't think I was describing what I was meaning to say correctly because I was, a little stressed out.
There were no charges brought as a result of that report. Is that fair?
Yes.
Do you believe that my client's involved in a human trafficking ring?
Human trafficking ring? No, I never meant to express human trafficking ring.
Okay. Do you think he's human trafficking anyone?
No.
Okay. With respect to your daughter, have you had verbal arguments with my client in the presence of your daughter?
Verbal arguments? We've had disagreements, yes, but there really wasn't a lot of fighting before we separated. I mostly went on walks and, I tried to, that's kind of why he left, is because I was kind of isolating from him.
Do you have a tendency to isolate and disengage rather than interact when that happens?
Yeah, I'm not very confrontational. So, if there's something serious going on, I really just, especially with having an infant around, it's just best to avoid any kind of major drama.
Mm-hmm. My client had described most recently in late December of 2022 and early January of 23 that you had tried to push him down the stairs after an argument when he said he was leaving the house. Did you do that?
No.
Why do you think he would say that if it didn't happen?
Well, he says a lot of things to justify the strange things that he does.
Have you given him black eyes before in physical attacks?
No.
Did you scratch his face?
No, the charges were dropped because he did testify in court stating that we both got injuries from a mosh pit, a violent encounter at a bar.
So you're saying those injuries were from a mosh pit and not from you?
Yes, and he stated it as well.
Do you have proof of that, ma'am? Do you have any transcript or anybody else who heard that?
Oh, no, I guess I don't.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your sister? I know she'd had a pretty bad accident and suffered an injury.
Mm-hmm.
Is she able to care for herself?
Her medication makes her pretty fine. She's just a little over obese, so I mean she can't do heavy activities like
Okay. The medication that she takes, do you know what type that is?
I don't.
Where is that kept for her?
It's kept in her room.
Does your daughter ever go in her room?
Yeah, she goes in her room, but the medicine is not anywhere like in hand's reach.
Does your daughter like to climb things?
Yeah.
You said she likes to go down the slide. She goes up the stairs. I think there was testimony she likes to go up and down the stairs.
Yeah, and it's always supervised. I always hold her hands when she's going up and down the stairs. There's also a handrail too.
Let me ask you, is there furniture nearby where the medication's kept in your sister's room?
To be honest, I'm just guessing that it's in her room. I mean, I don't watch. I don't know where she keeps her medication.
Does she have to have your assistance, she being your sister, to take her medication?
Does she need my assistance to take her medication? No, I just remind her at night.
Okay. Have you ever seen that medication out where your daughter might get into it?
No,
Has your sister ever been aggressive towards you, your daughter, or anyone else?
no,
To the best of your knowledge as her caretaker, has she ever been diagnosed with a psychological or mental health disorder other than the injury?
yeah, she's diagnosed with a couple things, yes.
Okay. Are any of those things cause for concern to you regarding your daughter's safety?
No,
Does your sister have any type of paranoid schizophrenia?
not that I'm aware of.
Does she have any delusions, either auditory for listening or things that she sees that aren't there?
Mm, I'm not sure. She's on medication, so she has no problems with mental health problems anymore.
To the best of your knowledge, is she consistent in taking her medication and compliant with the dosage?
Yes, she's very on top of it.
Do you ever have a concern for the safety of your daughter around your sister?
No,
No,
I've never left her alone with her either. So
okay, so you don't leave her alone with
no,
your sister?
no.
How are you, I know Mr. Carson's paying for the mortgage on the house. How are you affording groceries and gas for your car and different things like that right now?
Well, we split our savings account that was acquired from selling our house when we moved here. And so I used that.
Okay,
Oh, my sister she was paying rent to live here for like a couple months, but she stopped in October.
okay. And you stopped working in October. Can you tell the court why?
Why? Because I was just trying to focus on my health. The divorce being the divorce hasn't been so easy on me. So
Okay.
I was seeing a therapist and stuff
How often did you see your therapist?
once a week or once every other week, actually.
Okay, so kind of once bi-weekly, fair.
Yeah.
And is that individual helping you with these beliefs that Nick testified to as well? And that you have that haven't been proven?
Oh, yeah, she was helping me.
Okay. Are you still seeing her?
No, I'm not.
Do you think it would be beneficial for you to still see her?
Yeah, I could definitely go back to seeing a therapist.
Have you ever had any mental health treatment previous to your well, let's say just previous to when you and your husband separated, so last summer?
So you mean before we separated, did I have any mental health problems?
Correct.
Yeah, I had anxiety
Okay.
and OCD.
And to the best of your knowledge, is the anxiety demonstrated or shown symptomatically by these beliefs or thoughts that you have that others are following you or listening to you?
No,
Okay. Do you take medication for your anxiety currently?
I don't have anxiety very much anymore.
Did you ever have to take anything for your OCD or do any occupational therapy for that?
Did I have to? No, I never had to.
Did you engage in any voluntarily?
Yes,
Okay, for how long?
not long. A couple sessions.
Do you recall what year that was?
2019.
Did that help you?
Yeah, it did help me.
Okay. Now, with respect to your daughter's injury, and it might be upsetting to go back to that day, but can you tell the court, Mrs. Carson, how was it that your 2-year-old daughter ended up with a broken jaw?
Well, I was pushing her on a stroller and she was attached to the seatbelt. And when we got home from the park, there was dead baby birds right on my doorway.
Hmm.
And so I was kind of a little bit, freaking out about that a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
that's not really great to come home to, is it?
Yeah,
Okay, so what happened next after you saw the birds?
I attempted to move the birds out of the way so I wouldn't run it over with the stroller. And she got out of her seatbelt and fell on her jaw. So I was just trying to move the birds out of the way so I could
Okay.
walk through, you know.
And I can understand that. So is it fair to say that when you were trying to move the birds, you left your daughter unattended for just a few seconds to get those out of the way?
Yeah, I turned away from looking at her for like 2 minutes,
Okay.
but she was in a seatbelt
Mhm.
that she got out of.
Has she tried to escape, if you will, as toddlers are good at that, from the seatbelt before in the stroller?
That was actually the first time. You know, she's just kind of getting, just getting into her toddler because it was last summer, so she was still an infant.
About 18 months old.
Yeah, she was still considered an infant when it happened.
Okay. And when she did that, can you describe the area in which that happened? I know you're talking about your doorstep. Like, are you approaching your front door or some different door?
Yeah, approaching my door.
And does the front door have a stoop or a porch?
It was actually I always use the door by my car.
Is that a side door to the house then?
There's no key to unlock the.
Okay. So just for clarification of the record, we're not talking about the front door now. We're talking about the side door where you park?
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of an area is that?
So, my car, and then there's the door, and then there's just like not a lot of room to get the stroller through.
Okay. Is it cement there, gravel, or something different?
Cement?
Okay. And when she was getting out of the stroller, you didn't see her get out, obviously. You didn't know she was trying to get out. True?
The stroller tilted over as soon as she stood up, so I
Okay.
did see it happen, and I didn't catch it in time.
Okay. So I'm just picturing it. She's standing up in the stroller. You're between the car and the door, and there's cement there.
Yeah,
What did she hit her jaw?
cement.
Okay. So the stroller tipped with your daughter standing in it and she went face first into the cement?
Yes.
Did she lose any teeth or anything at that point? Was she teething?
She had her teeth were kind of misaligned,
Okay.
and she was bleeding a lot.
Mhm.
So I took her straight to the emergency room, and then she was transferred to Helen Davos, which is a children's hospital.
Mhm.
They checked her jaw, and luckily she didn't need surgery. But we were still there for a couple days. So I mean, I was in quite shock. I wasn't able to call him right away because I was in such shock, and I was attending to my, injured infant. But I did call him as soon as we left the hospital and came home. It was 2 days after it happened.
Mhm. Let me ask you, did you have your cell phone with you when you guys went to the park that day?
Did I have my cell phone? Yeah, I did.
Did you have the cell phone with you at the hospital?
Yes.
Did you have some time when your daughter might have been sleeping from her medications that you could have texted Mr. Carson about the injury?
Well, he was in, I guess that I could have had time. It was an error that I made during a time of emergency. But, it's not like he could have flown.
Well, let me ask
He was
it
out of
this
state.
way.
I'm going to interrupt. I'm so
Sure.
sorry, but it's 11:55 and
Okay.
I'm going to have to stop for the day.
Sure.
We will have to set another date to continue this. And I think Ms. Van Nobler, we can stop recording, stop live streaming, and I will leave and ask for you to work out another date
Certainly, Anna.
to
Thank you.
finish. I would think 2 hours should be sufficient.
I hope so, yes. We'll go with that.
Ms.
We'll
Carson, would
make
you
it
agree with that?